Janaranjana Yasharanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jayarad Hamadava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadhari Jasharanandana Raja Janaranjana Jasharanandana Raja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Satara Sati Shri Srimad His Divine Grace of Bhagavatam Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Nitya Stone Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Satara Sati Shri Srimad Divine Grace of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shil Haridas Thakur Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanande All glorious to assembled devotees. All glorious to assembled devotees. All glorious to assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, and Srila Prabhupada. And do we know what the verse is today, Bhaktamak? Dana Kari, Denu Kari? One 10:30. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, text number 30, chapter entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Eta Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalang Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kurvate Yashang Grihat Pushkar Lochana Patir Na Jatu Apaiti Aharitbir 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 Ridi Sprishan Etak Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalam Etak Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalang Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kuravate Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kuravate Yashang Grihat Pushkara Lochanak Patir Yashang Grihat Pushkara Lochanak Patir Najat Vapait Yaritibir Najat Vapait Yaritibir Dishprashan Najat Vapait Yaritibir Dishprashan. Please chant. Etak Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalang Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kuravate Yashang Grihat Pushkara Lochanak Patir Najat Papait Yariti Biradish Prashan Atak Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalang Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kuravate Yashang Grihat Pushkar Lochana Patir Najat Papait Yariti Birvidi Sprashan. Ladies. Atak Parang Stritvam Apastapeshalang Nirasta Sochang Bhatta Sadhu Kurvate Yashang Grihat Pushkara Lochana Patir Najat Papait Yariti Biradish Prashan. Etak, all these women, Parang, highest, Stritvam, womanhood, Apastapeshalam, without individuality, Nirasta, without, Sochang, purity, Bhatta Sadhu, auspiciously glorified, Kurvate, do they make, Yasham, from whom, though, from those, from whose, Grihat, homes, Pushkar Lochana, the lotus side, Pati, husband, Najatu, never at any time, Apaiti, goes away, Aritibi, by presentation, Ridi, in the heart, Sprishan, endeared. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Please repeat. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives. Despite their being without individuality and without purity, their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contaminations. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Women, merchants, and laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the science of God or to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. They are more materialistic, and less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkasha, Abiras, Kankas, Yavanas, Kashas, etc. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. By engagement in the service of the Lord, the designative disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as His wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord played with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord used to live with His 16,108 wives constantly. He expanded Himself into 16,108 plenary portions, and each and every one of them was the Lord Himself, without deviation from the original personality. The Shruti mantra affirms that the Lord can expand Himself into many. As husband of so many wives, He pleased them all with such presentations, even at a costly endeavor. He brought the Parijata plant from the heaven and implanted it at the palace of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If therefore anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. Translation again. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives, despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksho Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Grim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. It's a very interesting purport. Translation and purport. The backstory of Krishna's 16,000 queens. Does everybody know the backstory? That these queens were the kidnapped princesses of various kingdoms around the planet by one demon, Bhaumasura. So these demons, they kidnapped these innocent women of a high order, These were not ordinary women. He was plundering the kingdoms. And part of the spoils are the women. And so he was taking them back to his place, which was not a very happy place. There they lived in abject servitude. You can just imagine. This was a demon. What do demons do? Especially demons like Bomasura. Their habits are that they drink, they slaughter animals, and they have illicit sex. So these women were all victims. But through their earnest prayer, otherwise, why is it mentioned? Being without individuality and without purity. It's because, to put it mildly, they were defiled. But simply by the sincerity of their devotion, the Supreme Personality of Godhead answered their prayers, defeated the demon, and rescued these women. And of course, we know that when the Lord rescued them, they were just standing around. So he said, now you're free. You can go back to your homes. And they said, we cannot go back to our homes. We have been kidnapped by this demon for many years. So how can we return to our homes? We have no place. No one will accept us. Society will not accept. What to speak of many years, if a woman is outside of the home for several days in India, she's not accepted back. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is immediately able to rectify any such situation. Kirata hunda pulindu pulkasa. It doesn't matter where one is coming from. Whether he's coming from a low-born family, he's coming from outcasts, coming from here, Malechas, Javanas, any fallen conditioned soul. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padaya Te Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurashe Namaha. Why is this Lord Chaitanya, the direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why is he called the Namo Mahavadanyaya? Because he's the most merciful. We see Lord Krishna's mercy in this instance, where he saved these 16,000 queens and took them as his wives directly when they had no other shelter. So this is another qualification that if one wants to achieve the highest goal, to serve the Supreme Lord without motivation, without any interruption, then he must be fully surrendered. He must feel himself without any other shelter. Because as long as he thinks he has some other shelter, then he cannot take full personality of Godhead. If he thinks I can go home, go back to my family, and go back to my nice little living place, I can go back to my bhajan kutir in Vrindavan. I don't have to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I can just pretend that I'm on such an elevated platform. The real service, the real surrender, tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. Many people think, I don't need a guru. I've heard sufficiently. I've been to this place, I've been to that place. I've sat in this saptaha, I've sat in that saptaha, I've listened to this person. I know everything. Yes, I know Krishna is God. How many times have we heard that? Yes, I know this. I know all these things. But that's not the qualification. The Supreme Personality of Godhead personally spoke Bhagavad Gita. Why? What did he say? Evam parampara praptim imam rajasi yoviduhu. This supreme science is thus understood in a chain of disciplic succession. Not by mental speculation. Chain of disciplic succession. Big difference. One hears from authority. Why? Because he understands that the Supreme Lord has invested this potency directly through incarnations like Vyasadeva, and from Vyasadeva to his disciples, to his sons, to the sages, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, and here, directly to us. No gap. The self-same instruction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, crossing the barriers of time, so that we have direct information. No need to speculate. So tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena. One has to approach a spiritual master. There's no wiggle room in this verse. It says one must approach a spiritual master and inquire submissively and render service. But if one is thinking, I'm just so advanced, I'll just do my bhajan. I don't need any society. I don't need any temple. I don't need anything. Then he's fool number one. He hasn't heard anything what Krishna was speaking to Arjuna. Why this Bhagavad Gita is revered in circles of learned men. Not by the crow-like men, but by the sadhus, the swan-like personalities. Because when they hear, they can actually discern that this is the absolute truth. Because they're engaging in devotional service to whatever extent possible, according to their capacity, according to their sincerity. Krishna is giving special concession. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yasubharagyam Jnanam Chayarahoitakam. Automatically, knowledge and realization. No one has to do anything extra. He simply has to perform devotional service. That verse from the Bhagavatam, this is meant to clarify for those persons who want to try to extract some false conclusion. Krishna says, no, don't do that. Vasudeva Bhagavati, just engage in devotional service. Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. How clear can it be? And then the conclusion, Janayat Dasu Vairagyam. Automatically, Jnanam Chayarahoitakam. Knowledge and detachment take place. So this is how you can tell if you're making advancement in spiritual life. My attachment for material things is dwindling. I no longer need, I don't feel compelled that I have to have the latest, I have to see the latest movie, I have to read the latest book, I have to be up with the latest Twitter feed or whatever. There's no need. These things are all secondary. Not secondary. These things are totally useless, unnecessary. When you have something primary, you don't need something secondary. People are saying you have to have a backup plan. What's the backup plan? Fall down into the material world again? One life, simply one life. Just engage. People think, I'll do it when I'm an old man or an old woman. I don't need this now. Sometimes we see that. In India, so many old people come. That's smart, no doubt. Withdraw. But what is the guarantee at that point? That I'll be able to fully execute and achieve full purification. So there's a little bit of a cheating mentality that if I go to Vrindavan, anyone who dies in Vrindavan, it says, goes to Vaikuntha. But there's no guarantee that one will achieve that goal if his consciousness is not purified. He can be in Vrindavan and his consciousness can be in hell. So therefore Prabhupada said that these dogs, hogs, and monkeys that are taking their birth in Vrindavan, So where are they coming from? He says they're all fallen yogis and sannyasis. All fallen yogis and sannyasis. And there are many, many monkeys and dogs and hogs. But the benefit is that if one dies in Vrindavan, eventually he will reach Vaikuntha. Because if you take birth as an animal, you cannot commit sinful activities. You simply burn up your karma, whatever little residue, remnants is left. And then you will take birth again in a situation where you have an opportunity to go to Vaikuntha. So many attempts to try to avoid surrender. And this is something we see on a regular basis, that people come and they like devotional service. The deities are so beautiful, Radha Govinda, so wonderful. And they're here simply to accept our service. They're so merciful. They tolerate so much. We can't give them proper heat or proper cooling sometimes. And we feel somewhat sorry in that respect, that we don't have the facility to give them the opulence that they deserve. It is our incomplete service. And so to compensate, we have to emphasize whatever little sincerity we have. Because that is the single most important ingredient for success. Prabhupada told us that all that is required for perfection in spiritual life is sincerity. And we see that here, what is in the purport. Prabhupada uses that word. I saw it. I have to skim it though. Yes. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Shri Krishna for their deliverance. And their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. So these two things are inextricable. You cannot have devotion without sincerity. One cannot say that I am sincere, but I'm not devoted. Or I'm sincere, and everyone can see that this person, he's saying these things, but there's no demonstration of sincerity. Sincerity is manifest by a devotee's words, thoughts, actions, everything. Prabhupada said sannyas means this tridanda, mind, words, and action. Mind, words, and action. These three things is a sannyas. Because there has to be some alignment. Sometimes you see my mind is someplace completely different. My words are also someplace else. And my actions don't reflect either. But when everything is in harmony, then one is situated in a proper platform. Of course, it has to be aligned with Krishna, not aligned with something else. So we have great facility, great opportunity, great example. Everything is there. We simply have to follow Mahajana Yena Gatak Sapantat, in the footsteps of the 12 Mahajans. And in our line, very dear to us is Prahlad Maharaj. Only 5 years old. How he's Mahajan? 5-year-old boy. How does a 5-year-old boy become Mahajan? Prabhupada said, not 5-year-old boy. He said, from the womb of his mother, in the womb of his mother, he was Mahajan. Not an ordinary situation, having heard directly from Narad Muni while in the womb of his mother. Like others, like the Vyasadevs, so many, he came out of the womb and he immediately left home. Stayed in the womb for 16 years. 16 years.
In the womb?
In the womb. He didn't want to come out. He said, I don't want to come out into the material world. He's already conscious from 7 months. Everybody, every living entity is aware. His consciousness is developed at 7 months in the womb. Therefore, they recommend that at that point you read so that the baby gets the benefit. The karmis say just play music. They want them to be a musician. Child prodigy. And that's these children, 3 years old, they're playing piano, they're playing violin. But if they'd been reading Bhagavad Gita, they'd be great sages. Instead, they just have some YouTube channel. So we have, now we're out of the womb. We have the Bhagavatam here. We've seen the conclusion personified in our Divine Master, Srila Prabhupada. There's no better example. It's inconceivable how merciful that the Senapati, the commander-in-chief of Lord Chaitanya, came to Brooklyn. The commander-in-chief of Lord Chaitanya. And he came to Brooklyn. And we're here in Brooklyn with those deities that he established. So there is no more perfect situation. You can calculate so many things. Oh, the deities here, they're nice, and this location is nice. Yeah, so many things are nice, like that. You know, the holy dhams, very nice. You go there, so special. You know, we say, I lost my heart in Vrindavan. Right? And then there's another t-shirt that says, I found my heart in Mayapur. Okay? So we should have a t-shirt that says, my heart and soul are in Brooklyn. I found my heart and soul in Brooklyn. More special, because they're outside of India. So any questions, comments? Zaid, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Amazing class. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says women Muslim laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the science of God or to be engaged in devotional service. They are more materialistic. I guess I want to know what he means by that, specifically.
It means that when one takes his birth according to his karma, he's given a situation based on his affinity. At one's life, he develops a certain set of senses. You've heard somebody say, oh, this guy, he eats like a pig. That person who does that, eats like a pig, he's gradually developing the senses. You know, when we're distributing Bhagavad Gita on the street, you know, you turn to that page and you have the morph, the animal human. You see a person half human, half bear because they like to sleep. See the other person half human, half tiger because they like to eat meat. Or the half human and half pig because they have indiscriminate habits in all respects. And so, in this lifetime, we're already developing our next body, animal or human. If I'm attached to money, or any you know, material so-called achievement, and at the time of death, I'm going to take a birth just suitable to achieve that proclivity. So I may take birth as a in a merchant family. They're very rich merchant families. But what happens in those families is that everyone feels very satisfied by my wealth. Or all they're thinking about is money. And so whatever intelligence they have is all focused on a very low platform. So therefore it said that they're less intelligent. Because intelligence means Tadarajas tamo bhavo kama lobha dayasche cheta eter anavidam stitvam sattvam prasidate. Intelligence means intelligence in the mode of goodness. Because you have intelligence in the mode of ignorance, intelligence in the mode of passion, and intelligence in the mode of goodness. So all these other births, women, Sudras, anyone in Kali Yuga. In the 11th canto it says, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, everyone is born a Sudra. There's no difference. So these purports are written when there was actually distinction. But in Kali Yuga, it doesn't matter what you're born in. What birth, what so-called high or low birth. Everyone's a Sudra. Why? Because all their intelligence is compromised. So here it's just clarifying, this is what it says in the Bhagavad Gita. Women, Vaishyas, Sudras, mercantile class, they're considered less intelligent.
I guess my question is, why does he think that women are less intelligent?
Materially, this is material intelligence. You have to assume. Again, you have intelligence, you have spiritual intelligence, and you have material intelligence. Everyone has spiritual intelligence. But when they're born in a particular body, they have to search for that strategy that gets me out of the conception of the bodily identification.
What is it about the body that makes a woman less intelligent?
What is it about the body of a pig that makes a pig a pig? It's a specific body for a specific purpose. That woman may not have been a woman in her last life. But due to, a woman has the opportunity for heightened sense gratification. You've heard that, Chanakya Pandit?
What does that mean?
It means that they have greater facility internally to experience material pleasures, mentally and physically.
How do we know that?
Even psychologists know that. They declare, they have books written about it. But why do we, when I speak about that, they glorify a woman's ability to experience sexual pleasures to the nth degree. And it goes on and on and on. And you see that this is unfortunate preoccupation with many men in that regard as well. And some men are envious even that women have that capacity to enjoy more than they do.
So you're saying because they have the facility, so Prabhupada is saying that because they have the facility to experience more materialistic pleasure, that means that they're less intelligent?
This means that they're less spiritually intelligent. It means that just like if you have a person blind, his vision is impaired. Doesn't make him any less of a person. Doesn't make a woman any less of a person just because she's in that body, but it's a handicap. Yeah, it's a handy, just like being born a quadriplegic. And why is that person born a quadriplegic? What was his karma?
Well, I mean, I feel like you're relating a natural, like, that's a disability.
No, why is it? Why did he get that disability?
I don't know. I've met a lot of very intelligent women.
Exactly. I've met a lot of very intelligent quadriplegics. But they have to overcome certain, what?
There's more obstacles.
So there's more obstacles. So just like if you're playing golf, you play golf?
No, I haven't.
So you know what a handicap is?
No.
In golf, depending on your level of proficiency, you're given a handicap. If you're playing with someone better than you, they spot you 4 strokes. It's called a handicap. Now, all things being equal, maybe someone would consider that an insult, but it's obvious that not everybody has the same talent or the same qualification. There are better golfers than others. Does that mean that they're better people or better personalities? They have a specific talent. So if I'm playing with somebody better and he gives me a handicap, I could be insulted. I could just work to be as good as that person, or better. The point is not to see it. The whole thing is, I'm not this body. So when we're seeing this, here we have the opportunity to see things objectively from that transcendental platform. And we can see things materially and think, oh, this is not nice, this is not politically correct, this is socially unacceptable. But here in the assembly of devotees who know I'm not this body, whether I'm in a woman's body or a man's body or this body or that body, I'm not this body. And I don't want to just categorize situations like that. Obviously it's a difficult, touchy subject to deal with. But the fact remains that the Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us this instance, that every body, every individual body has a particular reason for existence, for greater or lesser material and spiritual benefit. And it says that Suchinam Srimatam Gehe is that according to one's past pious activities, he takes birth in a pious Brahmin family or a wealthy mercantile family. And why wealthy mercantile, even if he's going to be distracted? Because he has the potential that he doesn't have to work. He can actually just study Srimad Bhagavatam all day long. If he's a little intelligent, if he meets the right person and says, hey, you don't even have to work. You've got it made. Take this book and, your life is guaranteed. You go back home, back to God in the next life. Because you're born in that wealthy family. Silver spoon. But you see what happens to people like that. They become spoiled. They don't utilize the facility. They were born with the perfect opportunity. I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything. But I could read all day long and engage in devotional service without any impediment. We want such people. Come. Doors are open. All the millionaires and billionaires, come. Actually be happy. But they won't, because they can't get past their handicap. But those who receive this knowledge, you see, my dear godbrother, come from one of the richest families in America. And he was able to see through the nonsense in the material world and take shelter of a pure devotee. Yes, Manaji.
I just wanted to add, just from the point of view of being spirit soul inside a woman's body, that my understanding of what we just read there and we were just discussing is that I feel that genuinely spirit souls who are women in this lifetime, in whichever lifetime, I feel that they are more materialistically inclined, and my understanding of that is because it's in a woman's nature to want to have a home and a settled, secure situation and all the things that go with that. So there's a requirement of expansion and material accumulation to support that. And how I see a man is that most men decide that they also want to be a part of that and support that, to look after the woman. But there are some men in general, like for example in the ashram, they don't require, they are so spiritually inclined. That's my understanding of that.
I remember in the previous chapters, Prabhupada in purport, he kind of glorified the Mataji's because they can be more by their nature.
And the nectar devotion.
And Prabhupada wrote that the ladies more lucky because from their nature they can be more free.
Soft heart.
Right.
Prabhupada said soft heart. So therefore, in India we see that in the families, primarily the women are more devoted than the men who are busy materially speaking. But the ladies are taking care of the household duties, they're making all these arrangements, and they're very much focused like that, sometimes to the exclusion of the rest of the family.
I like you mentioned Vrindavan, and it seems like we have to preserve not only deaths, but not only burden the Vrindavan, but deaths as well. It's like both of those we need to preserve.
And we're very fortunate that we have the ability to apply equal vision. Because Bhagavad Gita is teaching, these are not outliers. Some people say, oh, that we don't dwell on this. But in the Bhagavad Gita it says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanye Brahma Gavani Hasini Suni Chaiva Supakecha Pandita Samadarshana. So Pandita Samadarshana means a sage sees with equal vision. A learned Brahmana, a dog eater, an elephant, a cow. Everybody in soul in everybody. He sees the soul in everybody. He doesn't see the body. So that we have to work on, obviously. It's not just once and done. We have to work on it. We have to act on that platform of realization. And that will take, so we treat everyone nicely. We don't think, okay, when we go out on the street, we don't say these are karmis. We're not going to try to save them. Let's not approach them. Sometimes we use our radar. Obviously, there are more people who are maybe more receptive, but everyone is eligible for liberation, for spiritual realization. Every single person in a human body is eligible for liberation. So there's no disqualification except that a person won't exercise their intelligence. It's the only disqualification. It doesn't matter what body you're in. But if you let that body be a handicap, then you see how these verses have their purport. So, Bhakta Ken?
We might not be able to provide the deities with options that they deserve. It's us, we compensate for our sincerity. And it just made me think of even in my own endeavors, I might fall short. But it's comforting to know that you're going to provide my sincerity.
100%.
Not that, there's a certain amount of, a lot of determination involved. It's slack off. I'm really trying to push it. Sincerity.
And he knows. This is the thing. How did Krishna know that these 16,000 queens needed to be rescued? It says because by their prayers. There was no WhatsApp chat or signal or anything else. How did they get that message through? They prayed to the Lord sincerely, and He heard their prayers. So if we're praying sincerely, Krishna is seated within our hearts. Sometimes I think we kind of forget that He's there within our hearts. And that He hears us. So obviously, the more one develops that consciousness that Krishna is very near, and that I should endeavor to my maximum capacity to try to please Him in all respects, then to that extent my devotional service will become perfect. Yes, Dan, okay.
We know that there are ego and true ego, and we have to move ourselves toward true ego. So is it possible only for Vaishnavas or any transcendentalist to develop?
Very few, I'll check. Most people don't even know what ego is. I mean, they address it and say that this guy's, he's puffed up, he's proud, and they associate that with the concept of ego. But they don't know that ego is a subtle material element, or what it does, how it formulates the body through the arrangement of the senses around the material mind and intelligence. That's, it doesn't have any, it's nothing to that. I ask any materialist, does he know the difference between the self and the mind? The mind and the intelligence. People hear voices all the time in their head. A crazy person hears voices in his head all the time. Says, kill that person, and he does it. Because he doesn't know the difference between his mind, his intelligence, reality. For them, it's all indistinguishable. It's all the same. That's the only difference between a crazy person and a sane person, is they don't know the difference between reality and illusion. And so he hears a voice, his mind says, kill that person. Or even Prabhupada gave a very good example one time. He says, you walk to the edge of a high place, and the mind says, jump. And the intelligence says, no. Who has not experienced that? Standing on the edge of a precipice, and you think, oh, what would it be like to jump off that cliff? Who is saying that? Where is that coming from? That's the mind. So if you listen to the mind, then you're a dead man or a dead woman. So we know the difference between the mind and the intelligence. The karmis they don't know that. I mean, they kind of get a little hint. That the mind is always constantly saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. And so they have something called, they fix on something called willpower. And they identify with things like eating. Because that's their general, indulgence, is that they're always, the tongue is the most difficult to control. Sharira vidya jal jitendriya tarika. And so they're always trying to stop their eating. To eat. My mind is telling me to eat. Something's telling me to eat. They say my stomach or my hunger. They give some they separate it from themselves. Like one famous comedian back in the day, he said, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. Yeah, it wasn't me. It was the devil. I didn't do it. How many times, how many murderers have claimed that? Yeah, I heard voices in my head. The devil. There was one murderer here, very famous, son of Sam. That's not his name. He was just some nondescript guy, and they have a tendency to put some aura around him. But he was hearing voices in his head. And he was stalking the lovers' lanes, and he would go up to them with a 357 and just blow them away. And then one summer, years ago, everybody was like freaked out. He killed probably 6 people before he got caught or so, maybe more. It was a whole thing, that they try to dissect it. Why does a person do these things? And you can't. The thing is because they're mad. He was hearing voices. He didn't know the difference between his mind and his intelligence and his soul, and So anyway, we're trying to gather these mind, intelligence, words, deeds all together and serve the Supreme Lord. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. Because that is the perfection of life. Doesn't matter what body you're in. Prabhupada said even a dog.